Hey you all, I have been meaning to share some videos with you that really explore health and foods that we should partake of and those things that we should steer clear of, because as the body of Christ, it's really important that we're informed and that we realize that our bodies are the temple of the living God, and what we put in it, it does matter. Don't be deceived. And so I want to introduce you to this doctor. He's pretty amazing. His name is Dr. Bobby Price, and he's going to go into great detail about the top 12 foods in the United States that we consume that are banned in other countries. So I hope that this video blesses you and definitely helps to get you your diet in check and get you to think about some things and how you shop and what you feed your family and etc. So take a look.
Peace and blessings, people. Welcome back to the channel once again. And today's video is a video you want to watch this one all the way through. And the reason why is because I'm always getting the question of, Doc, what should I eat for this? Or what herbs should I take for this? Or what superfood is good for this? And people focus on what they want to add into their healing regimen, but they don't focus on what is actually causing them to lose their health in the process. And what I mean by that is nothing can overcompensate for an unhealthy, toxic diet. And the unfortunate thing is the US food here in the US is very toxic, okay? So today we're gonna be talking about the 12 US foods that are banned in other countries. And many of these foods you're very familiar with. Many of these foods, many of us grew up eating on. Many of these foods are common things that we actually think are healthy. And so what I'm gonna do is go into 12 foods that are banned in other countries. Many of them are banned in multiple countries. And I'll explain why many of them are banned. And so what I need you to do is help me share this information with the people you love so that we can get this message out. Because here's the thing. I had the fortunate opportunity to work for the FDA during my graduate final year of graduate school. And it was a really great opportunity because it helped me understand a few things. It helped me understand that the FDA is undermanned. They don't have enough people to do what they need to do. They don't have enough funding. And the unfortunate thing is they don't have enough power to actually make the decisions that they need to make. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because the label FDA approved probably doesn't have the meaning that you would hope it would have for your own safety. And so, you know, again, many of these foods that I'm about to bring up, these things are FDA approved. And the unfortunate thing is that despite being FDA approved, and in other countries, they've shown that these foods are unhealthy for their citizens and they protect their citizens from it. Here in the US, that is not the case. And so it's so important that we make decisions for ourselves because the governing agencies that are designed to do that aren't making them for us. And it's really important for us to understand that it's called the Food and Drug Administration. They are in charge of what drugs are approved and to go into the medical, industry, what foods are approved, to go into the food industry. They're in charge of that. And so if they are, and the job is not being done at a level that protects us, then we have to protect ourselves. Okay, so we're going to dive into those 12 foods today. Again, many of these are going to be mind-blowing moments for you, but the same way as a chemist turned herbalist and, plant-based nutritionist, the same way I had to learn the difference between unnatural chemistry and organic living chemistry. There's a huge difference and they're not supposed to mix. And that's why these foods are on the list. Okay, so number one, and this is in no order of priority or toxicity. Number one, citrus sodas and Gatorade. And why? Because they contain a compound called BVO, or brominated vegetable oil. Okay, and this is very toxic to our health. We'll find them in things like Mountain Dew. So quite often what you'll notice is that these products, if you see them in another country, that the company has literally removed the BVO, the brominated vegetable oil, from the product, and now it's a healthier version of that. Okay, we see that with for instance, the Mexican Coke. Everybody's heard of it like a Mexican Coca-Cola. Okay, it's called that simply because they removed the high fructose corn syrup, which is detrimental to our health, and put in a quote unquote natural sugar. Okay, so number one, citrus sodas and also Gatorade. Now imagine that. Gatorade, we give this to athletes. They drink it during the game, during halftime, while training, and they're drinking this compound, is basically you can call it. Unfortunately, that is detrimental to their health, okay? And number two is maraschino cherries, okay? Now, why is that important? Because you would think that this is a fruit and that life is sweet and everybody wants a cherry on top. But the unfortunate thing about maraschino cherries is that the reason why they're so red, is because they add a dye to it. And that dye is called red number 40. And that red number 40 is highly allergenic and highly toxic to our gut health, okay? So next time you're having a banana split or having, a cake and you see those cherries on top, that's exactly what that is. So that comes in at number 2. Number 3, U.S. pork. U.S. pork, because the unfortunate thing is that for these animals, in their animal feed, they put a compound known as ractopamine, okay? And ractopamine is not only detrimental to the health of the pig, but it's also detrimental to the person that eats it as well, too. And as a result of this, 160 countries have banned U.S. pork, okay? 160 countries. I want you to think about that for a second. Not 1, not 2, not 50, 160 countries have banned U.S. pork. They can't even import it into their countries, okay? All right, number 4. Number 4 is U.S. corn, okay? U.S. corn, why? Because somewhere between 90 and 98% of all U.S. corn is genetically modified. That's one, which means that if it's genetically modified, it's going to be heavily sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides. And one of those is called atrazine. And atrazine is an endocrine disruptor. And specifically, it sort of disrupts the endocrine system and increases estrogen in the body, which could lead to a lot of the reproductive cancers that we're seeing exploding in both men and women. In women, we're seeing breast cancer explode to exponential levels, and also cervical and ovarian cancer. In men, prostate cancers, okay? And most of the foods are sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, insecticides. And atrazine is the second most used pesticide after glyphosate, okay? And so it's so important that we understand that, even corn, is on this list because it's genetically modified and it's sprayed with a chemical that disrupts your endocrine system and can lead to cancer, okay? Number 5 is prepackaged ground beef, okay? The ground beef that you would make like a hamburger with. And why? Because with this ground beef, they use a filler in it, and that filler is called pink slime, okay? Pink slime filler. And I didn't make that word up for myself. Pink slime filler. And the reason why that's so dangerous is because that pink slime filler is treated with ammonia gas, okay? Not making that up either. Treated with ammonia gas. So as a result, prepackaged ground beef from the U.S. is banned in other countries, okay? Number 6. Farm-raised fish and salmon, okay? Why? Because the unfortunate thing is when they're farm-raised, they are fed a chemical cocktail of methylmercury, dioxin, and antibiotics, okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, thank God I bought a wild-caught salmon. Well, the unfortunate thing is that, many of the products that you think are wild-caught aren't actually wild-caught. And the best way I can explain that to you is I do a class with my membership program, Tribe Healing Community. And when I'm doing this this class with them, we do a reading food labels class. And one of the things that I tell them is that the front of the label on any food product, that is just hype, that's to get you excited. it doesn't mean, most of it doesn't mean anything. And what I mean by that is many of the labels that they put on the front, like all natural, is not regulated. And as a result, you may be thinking that you're getting something all natural, but that's actually not a label that is regulated. You take something like USDA organic, that's a regulated label. Now, albeit most of the brands still take advantage of that, because USDA organic still means that only 80% has to be organic and 20% can still be whatever, okay? But the point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of times when you're thinking you're getting something like grass-fed, that animal may have been grass-fed, but it wasn't raised grass-fed, meaning it was born into a livestocking farm where the animals literally shoulder to shoulder, and they were fed genetically modified corn and soy, and then they took that animal at a certain age and then put it on a green pasture, let's say for 2 months. That's grass-fed, okay? So don't be tricked by the front of the label is what I'm trying to say, all right? But yes, farm-raised fish and salmon fed a chemical cocktail that is composed of methyl mercury, which is why so many people are starting to have mercury toxicity, dioxins, and antibiotics, okay? Number 7, cereal brands. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because many of the cereals that are banned in other countries, many of these cereals, our children wake up every morning and eat, okay? Wake up every morning and eat. And so many of these cereals, unfortunately, are banned in other countries. I'll give you a few examples. Fruit Loops, banned in other countries because it contains yellow number 5 and red number 40 that I mentioned earlier, okay? Banned in other countries. Now, they're not banning this because it's not natural. They're banning this, again, you have to remember what I mentioned at the beginning. If you were to be banned in another country, in multiple countries at that, you would really have to do something pretty bad, okay? So just trust me when I say, when you start to look up what yellow number 5 and red number 40 and other dyes similar to them do to our health, then you'll understand why it's so unhealthy, not only for our children, but for us as well too, okay? Frosted Flakes and also Honey Bunches of Oats. Now you would think to yourself, honey and bunches of oats, that sounds like a good combination. Even on the front of the box, it looks like it's a healthy thing. But the unfortunate thing is that these particular sugars or cereals, because cereals quite often are laced with sugar, they also are laced with BHT, which is butylated hydroxytoluene, okay, which is very unhealthy for our health as well too. So now you're adding the combination of tons of sugar, tons of unhealthy, unnatural sugar. You add in the dyes that they're adding in there, and then the preservative BHT, and now you start to see like where all of these food chemicals are coming from. And so again, it's another chemical soup, you know, when you're eating these you know, foods as well, or cereals in this case. So that's number 7. Number 8, U.S. milk and most of our dairy is banned in other countries. Okay, why? Because these dairy cows are injected with what's called recombinant bovine growth hormone. Now, here's the thing. Drinking cow's milk by itself, I did a previous video, so make sure you go check that out. It's important to understand that cow's milk is baby formula for a baby cow, okay? And I'm calling it a formula, even the natural, unpasteurized raw form of it. It is formula to take a baby cow that weighs 100 pounds. Now think about that now. When a human baby comes out, it weighs 6 pounds, okay? It's designed to take 100-pound cow and turn it into a 800 to 1,000-pound cow in like a year from that date, you know, a year or 2 from that date, okay? The hormones in that milk is very different from the hormones in the composition of breast milk from a human, okay? So that's why, whenever I say this, people say, well, I get my milk organic and blah, blah, blah. But it's important to understand that it is growth formula for a baby cow, and no cow, no mammal for that purpose drinks milk after infancy. No monkeys do it. No goats do it. No cows do it. No other mammals on the planet drink milk after infancy. None of them. We're the only ones that do it. Okay. And so on top of that, as I mentioned before, dairy milk is injected with this recombinant bovine growth hormone. And as a result, it is very not only toxic to our health, but it is banned in all of the European Union, which is 44 countries by itself, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and also Canada. Okay, so just think about that. Okay, banned in all of those countries. Okay, number 9. This is the one you're probably going to come for me for, but I'm going to explain myself and then you do your own research. U.S. chicken. U.S. chicken is banned in the entire European Union, again, which is 44 countries have banned it. And here's why. Because U.S. chicken is washed with chlorine, okay? The same kind of chlorine that when you're jumping in a lot of the pools today, the same kind of chlorine that is treated in the municipal tap water today. For those same reasons, the European Union has banned U.S. chicken because it's washed and soaked in this chlorine, okay? And when you consume the chicken, you consume the chlorine, and chlorine is carcinogenic, okay? So it's really important to understand that. And people say, well, you just washed it. Well, here's what you need to understand. One of the other things that they do to chicken is this. They will inject the chicken with water and salt. And why do they do that? Because if you inject a chicken or any meat for that matter with water and salt, well, guess what? Water stays wherever the salt is, okay? So you inject the chicken with water and salt, now weight is heavier, okay? So now when it goes to the market, you can charge more, okay? The point I'm trying to make is that it doesn't leave the body of the chicken. So when you consume it, not only the water and the salt, but also the hormones, the antibiotics that is fed to it, and also this chlorine, then you start to see this chemical soup that they put in the U.S. chicken supply. And then you understand why the entire European Union has banned U.S. chicken, okay? Number 10 is bread. And I know you're thinking, U.S. bread is banned in other countries? Yes, it's banned in other countries. Let me give you a few reasons why. You probably heard in the news, or maybe you didn't recently, that, you know, a lot of the bread in Subway, the Subway franchises, is banned in other countries. And the reason why is because it contained this compound, ADA. And this compound is what is banned in other countries, okay? This compound is called azodicarbonamide, okay? And that is banned in other countries. In addition, bread also contains another compound or chemical called potassium bromate. This is banned in Brazil, the UK, and also Canada, okay? So potassium bromate as well. And then high fructose corn syrup. Most of the bread that you're consuming today has some form of a sugar in it, and specifically in most cases has high fructose corn syrup. So as a result, it is banned in other countries as well too. And then number 11, this is probably really gonna blow your mind, stevia, or an artificial sugars, banned in other countries. And I know most people have been taught and told by even their physicians that, you know, instead of using white sugar, they should use stevia, okay? But here's the thing, it is banned in the entire European Union. And guess what? This isn't recent. They banned this sugar in 1999, okay? Artificial sweeteners are very toxic to our gut. They also cause sugar imbalances that can lead to not only diabetes, but also obesity. And artificial sugars are also neurotoxins. They affect our nervous system and also our brains. Okay, so you want to stay away from stevia as well too. Do your own research. You'll find the data is pretty consistent with that as well. And then the final one is processed meats. Okay, processed meats like bacon, breakfast sausages, deli meats like turkey meat, like the thin sliced turkey meats, bologna, ham, etc. These processed smoked meats, all of these meats, these processed meats, unfortunately, are laced with these salts that are called sodium nitrate, okay, and nitrates. These sodium nitrate compounds are carcinogenic, okay? As a matter of fact, the governing body, as I mentioned before, that is the IARC, that determines what is carcinogenic, what causes cancer, has put processed meats, the same one. We make these sandwiches for our kids. We're making for ourselves for lunch. They have put these meats in the same category with cigarettes, asbestos, and plutonium, okay? So as a result, these meats are banned outside of the US as well too, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a few bonus Skittles, okay? How often did we eat those as kids? Shocker, papaya, and specifically papaya, the fruit from Hawaii, and soy, because they're genetically modified. The vast majority of papaya that comes from Hawaii is genetically modified. And as a result, it is banned in many other countries. And then also sugar cane, because sugar cane is treated with a chemical as well. Now, I know this has been a shock in terms of the list that we've done today, but what's really important for you to know and understand is that the foods that our ancestors ate, our grandparents ate, our great-grandparents ate, it is not the same food that we're eating today. And what's being allowed in the food supply, unfortunately, especially here in America, but also in other developing nations, in my opinion, is why we're so sick, why we're so overweight, and why we're dying so early. So make sure you know and understand the importance of, you know, not just finding the right herb or the right superfood to eat to stay healthy or to even heal yourself, but you have to also realize there are so many things you have to take out of your diet, because if you don't, that is the factor that you cannot ever defeat. Okay, it's an uphill battle you can never defeat. So you have to be constantly removing the unhealthy things and replacing them with things that are natural and also in line with our biology. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video. And comment below on, you know, what was the big shock for you in the number of all of the foods that I mentioned today. What was the big shock for you? And then also, here's what's important. And I say this with love and kindness, is that, you know, start to figure out where you're going to start to eliminate. And what I would say is eliminate these foods from your home first. And I always tell people, start to add healthy foods, but also be subtracting as you go, because that's how you achieve health, okay? Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.